Hi, and welcome to Yeshivat Shem Ve'ever. I'm Rabbi David Katz, and we are in Parashas Matos Masei. The article is entitled "The Real Derech Eretz," and for translation purposes, the Derech Eretz is the way you should handle yourself from experience, from perception, from the law of the land. It's the Torah street wisdom, I guess you could say it. And this is the real Derech Eretz. This is the way it is, I guess you could say in loose English. Questions, comments, or feedback? I can be reached at Rabbi Katz at virtualyeshiva.com. One request: when anybody taps out with a 2, if you can remember, please to immediately type a 1. It just allows me to continue without having to think if everybody lost out or not. So if just one person, thanks. Whenever, because I know some people lose out frequently because of the location. So whenever there's a 2, come back please with a quick 1. Not everyone has to do it, but just let me know that people are still here. And the basic template, as always, is... the article is written on Friday. This class is on the article, and we start with following the trail of breadcrumbs through the Haftorah and into the Zohar. I've used this analogy before. I'll say it again. It's kind of like going to a restaurant and getting appetizers in the main dish. The appetizers are not necessarily what the main dish is all about, as much as we might like the appetizers. I think it's an accurate analogy, but it works. And with that said, let's go. The Haftorah. Not much to say. It was pretty straightforward, and it just works out exactly the way it's supposed to work. The article, as everybody saw, is written about a law that we're going to explain in a second from the Zohar, that threatens the existence of the entire world through Israel and through the Ger. Let's call it illicit relationships. Right now, there's probably not much of a threat in this area. Hopefully that means that both camps figured it out. But over time, there was, let's say, times of antagonism, and there were times of too close for comfort. The nature of the relationship between the two peoples is really what, and on one foot, what the Torah was really all about. And the perversion of such statutes is really what will destroy everything. And they've tried. That was the point with Midian coming over with the tribe of Shimon, Zimri and Cosby, and that was the key that opens all doors to all evils. And right then and there, God's antivirus program picked up, the spear in hand, Pinchas kills, he's awarded the priesthood, and in the last 2 parshiot after Parshas Pinchas, Bilam's going to die, everything gets resolved, and the real close of the Torah is this week. It's not the book of Devarim. I think there was a time in history that Devarim was actually concealed. This is probably one reason why, because at the end of Bamidbar, that tells the story. It starts with Bereshis in the beginning, and it ends with Pinchas' spear and the climax and the conclusion. Devarim itself is called Mishnah Torah, the reiteration of the Torah. It is essentially a review. The Nevuah, or the prophecy, is different. It's a higher level prophecy, as the Shekhinah, God's presence, was really one with the mouth of Moses. So it's its own thing. It's different. It's not part of the story aspect. It has its own mochen, its own flavor, mochen meaning intellect. Therefore, right now, these parshiot with Pinchas, Matos Masei, game over, the antivirus succeeds, the schism is healed, the breach has been restored, the messianic redemption conclusion happens to a book that is largely, if not entirely, about redemption. And then we lose sight of it because we go into Devarim. Next week we go into Devarim and we lose when we forget what it was about. So that really happens a lot in life. You get the redemption, and then immediately God comes up with the review of the Torah. This is under the principle that Joseph is called the foundation, and every foundation has, once it's revealed, there's an aftergrowth that grows on it, and we have to do our job and reveal it yet again. And that'll come at the end of Devarim. We have to put back the pieces of the puzzle and remember where we came from at the end of Bamidbar, just as Moses is dying off in the end of Devarim. So in case there's any confusion, in another however many weeks from now, we're going to finish Devarim. Remember what's going on now. And if it all goes according to plan, it should make sense then. So that's the Haftorah. You're going to forget what's happening. You're going to lose the Torah, lose the land of Israel, and it's read during the times of Tisha B'Av. Our job then is to fight that with the spear of Pinchas. Couple points to point out in the Zohar. We're not going to mention the Zohar on the Parsha because that's all we did. The entire article was written on the Zohar. The Zohar for these Parshas are only one page. And I chose to write the article exclusively on that one page of Zohar. So before I get into that issue, I did not finish Pinchas yet on the Zohar, because that actually is about 300 pages, and I'm hoping between last Parsha, which was Pinchas proper, and now, and this week, I can finish the Zohar on Pinchas, and we can be up to speed in Devarim. Speaking about Mazel, everybody knows that Yeshivat Shem Ve'ever is part of the Sol Mazel operation, and the Zohar mentioned a nice bit of Mazel Torah, which I want to bring in. There are 3 types of servants of God. Whether you are wise, rich, or powerful. Basically, when you have tipped the scales in your favor, and you are a recipient and visionary of Mazel, you can understand your path to God in the universe on 3 premises. Are you a man of truth? Are you a person of vigor and valor? Or are you a fearer of God? If you are a fearer of God, you are a warrior, a gibor. You've conquered your evil inclination. If you are a member of vitality in society, you have wealth so that you can perform the commandments. If you are a man of truth, a person of truth, you excel in Torah and you are wise. Everybody comes under one of these 3 categories. How are you going to perform the Torah? If Torah itself is what you're about, then you might not perform the mitzvahs up to par, because frankly, it takes a living to do the mitzvahs. If buying a lulav is what you want to do, and it costs a lot of money to have a very nice lulav, then you might not have that lulav. Whereas if the mitzvahs are what you are all about, you put your money into that performance area of life. It's a matter of priority. It's not to say that there's a negation here. It's to say which one of these 3 orders is your priority. Is it wealth, and so that you should have time to learn Torah, and only then you can worry about your Yetzer Hara? Or is it wealth, so that I can really concentrate on beating my Yetzer Hara, and then from that I'll get Torah? Any combination of how you order those three, that is your path of mazal. So if you want to defeat your evil inclination first, yet it's third in priority, on the mazel train, you're going to get the opportunity last. Not last out of everybody else, but let's say your day consists of a big bang, a middle bang, and a low bang. The low bang on the totem pole is going to be where you find the way to conquer evil, the middle one per the middle, and the big one per the big one. And what this does is it allows us to recognize what's coming our way. What is the mazel that we are about? If it's wealth, then no, you will be interacting with wealth. But with the understanding, why am I of wealth? Why is wealth what I do? And when you realize it is to perform mitzvot, then amongst the myriads of wealth, you can identify where are those who are seeking mitzvot, how can we connect, how can we strengthen wealth and mitzvot. Torah, if Torah is what you're about, then it's about the truth. So amongst those that learn the Torah, you want truth. And likewise, when you're amongst a mighty bunch, fearers of God, then you look for who is the one who has conquered his evil inclination. And then comes the second tier, third tier, and you can identify the sparks of holiness for everything that comes on your path and separate the good from the bad. Onwards into the Zohar, the essence of the article, and I mean the essence, is about the two arms of the tree of life: kindness, chesed, judgment or strength, gevura or din, judgment. Those two attributes can basically talk about everything. Ger, Jew, male, female, written Torah, oral Torah. Every component of two, which everything in the world can be brought down really to two things. That's like the ultimate fractal. Two that are really one. I am Hashem, your God. You should have no other gods. Once that is the fractal, then you start to learn how the interaction happens of these two halves. And the nature of the article will be, okay, you have a ger, I get it. We have a Jew, we get it. How do these two camps interact? Should we get married? Should we hate each other? Should we go on our separate ways? Should we be friends? Should we learn Torah? Should we go to 7 with heaven? Whatever it is. How should we interact? How? Do I really love you? Do you really love me? Should I love it all? Is it all a sham? The Torah ends in Bamidbar. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai in the Zohar, 1 page of these 2 parshas is all it takes. What Pinchas goes on for 300 plus pages in the Zohar, Rabbi Shimon says, by the way, you can call that the Matos Masei program at the end of Bamidbar. Close the book, go home, and we've done our job. We have a 1. The Zohar mentions that in the law area, with the women that are captured amongst the Israel camp, and this will become the basis for the relationship between peoples. An interesting law comes to the forefront about when you get vessels from the other camps. They must be purified and passed over through water and or fire And the Torah calls it Zos Chukas HaTorah. This is the law of the Torah. And this really resonated with me. I'll tell you why. The reason why vessels must be purified and run through purification when they come from outside the camp. It's thought that they are elevated to a higher stature of holiness. Once something becomes elevated in holiness, it requires a ritual dunk in the mikveh. Holiness doesn't mean better. Holiness means a higher level of holiness, leaving behind a current level of purity-impurity status. Thus, you find there's a difference, as we mentioned a couple weeks ago, between holiness and impurity-purity. The Noahide Ger Torah comes from Malchus, revelation, the level of tzedek, righteousness. On that level is impurity, purity. What is it to be pure? What is it to be impure? There's a Torah that comes with that learning. Then you have, on what's called Tiferet, beauty or harmony, the Torah of holiness. What is holy? What is not holy? Everything in the middle, Yesod, foundation, is the locale of war and the pathway between the two. War, that of Amalek. Sometimes he who is holy goes into the pure sector. And in the pure sector, there is that which is not pure. And yet, he who is pure might want to invest in something holy. These two camps operate, they're both essential. And if you want to ask which one is better, it's irrelevant. Is it the Vav of Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, holy, or the Hey of Yud-Kei Vav-Kei? Ideally, it's Yud-Kei and Vav-Kei. You need both. To which the Vilna Gaon states, there is hope for your end. Tikva. Tikva is Taf Kuf, Gematria 500, 1 500 to the Hey, 1 500 to the Vav, makes 1,000, the level where there is no evil. The level of Mashiach ben David, Mashiach ben Yosef, Gematria 1,000. It's when the name is split, the powers of Amalek reign. The split must not happen. Thus, you need both. The reason why I'm mentioning this is, what do you do when a ger goes into something holy? When a Jew who has the holy measure goes into purity, the revelation of what is pure, what is impure comes about. It's a redemption of the Malchus. But Tiferes needs its own level of redemption. The ger is destined to put his being in that Tiferes level. If that's called a conversion, then call it a conversion. If it's called, this is where I'm at right now, and we'll see how it goes. Whether it be for 1 minute, 1 week, 1 day, 1 year, whatever it is. Whatever it is, it is. And both camps need to become fluent in the visitation rites of both camps. The Jew must understand what is purity, to be the complement what is holy. And if you are pure in purity, you need to know what is holy. They go hand in glove. Again, view it as male, female. View it as brother, sister, whatever you want. It's not about high, low, better, worse. It's about this is that, this is this. So in the level of the commandment of the woman that comes into the Jewish camp, right afterwards is the vessels that need ritual dunk. And this is called Zos Chukas HaTorah, This is the unknown level of statute of the Torah. And I realized that Ger basically is that. He is the statute that people just don't understand. Why? I don't know if they want to. And that's what the Torah is about. That's the redemption. The redemption is to take this generic Ger and say, you know what? I think God had another word in mind when he had the Ger in mind. And we're supposed to know what that word is. It's called Tzedek, righteous. And let's call him the Ger Tzedek. And where that Tzedek went to was Malki Tzedek, my king, my revelation of Malchus, righteousness, i.e. Shem. And yet Shem, nobody wants to recognize as Malki Tzedek. The Torah says very clearly, Tzedek, Tzedek, Tirdof. Righteousness in Torah you should chase after. Tzedek, Torah, as in the Tzedek that precedes the Torah, has the appropriate gematria 805. That of Messiah, son of Menashe, which is Moses with a Nun Shari Bina proper understanding. The final revelation of Mashiach ben Yosef of redemption that comes with Messiah, son of David, 805, equaling also the gematria of the mouth, peh, to speak. The Torah that is spoken. The level where the Ger and the Jew are together. When you have the commandment of the vessels being purified, it's because the vessel went into a different realm. So there's a mitzvah, let's say, when something that is not on this status of holy enters holy, dunks, then there's also a benefit for when holiness delves into purity. That's called knowledge of Torah and righteousness, the gifts of Malchus. There are gifts of Malchus, there are gifts of Tiferet, harmony and beauty. And Yesod, foundation, is the pathway. That's the level called Tzaddik, righteous one. To the aperture, what's it called? Tzaddik Yesod Olam, the righteous pillar of the world. The Paraduma red heifer preparation leaves the handler needing a ritual bath. Why? Because when the ger is helping the Paraduma, yes, the ger takes place in the Paraduma. By handling that mitzvah, it is a chok, a statute higher than normative Torah. Thereby, everybody involved must dunk. It's a way of describing the Paraduma, red heifer mitzvah, as very holy. And what it does is it's a job of the ger in the holy realm. There are jobs of Jews in the pure realm. And we'll find that in the whole Torah, there are jobs for both on both sides of the camp. And when the nations including Israel, are engaged through Yesod, righteousness, Amalek doesn't have a chance. Evil doesn't have a chance, as there's just light coming from on high to low, low to high. That's called the level of the shofar. The sound of the shofar has blown and heard in the world. All the imagery comes to life. This is the unification of Tiferet, Yesod, and Malchut, which anyone with a Kabbalistic background understands that is the purpose of creation on the blueprint level. Both sides need to have what's called running and returning to each other. Retzo v'shuv, run and return, the Gematria Torah. Gematria, Tikkun Adam, the repair of man. Thus, the law comes out of repairing the vessel in a very good spot. Right after the relationship between the two states are established. Why? It teaches the Jew, you better take your Torah seriously. If there were 613 commandments given to Israel and dunking vessels is one of them, and you say, who cares? Well, you don't know who's on the other side of that mitzvah. You don't know who depends on that mitzvah. If you erase that mitzvah, you say the ger has no portion of the red cow. And it's lost. And likewise, he who performs 7 doesn't realize who's on the other side of that 7. The revelation is both sides are fueling both camps. We get lost with a Moloch in the middle. Doubt, evil, forgotten Torah. There's a direct benefit coming from both camps of not what you shouldn't do, but realizing what you can do. How the Jew can become pure. How the ger becomes holy on top of his purity. And how everything functions as one in the state of two that really operate as one. I am Hashem your God. You should have no other gods. Male, female, embrace. Wisdom, understanding, embrace. That's what this end of the Torah is about. Living together simply as different people. First from the generic point of view, then until it gets with a name. The Zohar actually goes on to say, only God has the answers to everything. Everything has a name. The name is your concept. So if you don't know somebody, you cannot say they have a name. You don't know their concept. God knows. So you're just ger. He is just Jew. We know the concept. And that's enough to love already. If you know what a ger is or what a Jew is, you'll realize, and you really know, you'll say, that's something I can love. Then you'll start to allow the concept to come through. Hey, let me tell you what I'm all about. Okay, let's hear it. Now they can start to love each other. Because it went from generic to the more personal. The Torah opens with Bereshis, in the beginning. Very generic. Genesis. By the time we get to Bamidbar, in the desert, we end with Pinchas, the spear, Matos Masei. We now have a great love for the Torah because we know what it's about. But people draw the definitions wrong. They think that Devarim is the end. It's not. Because it ends with the word Israel, then you missed the boat. You don't know how to define the word Israel. You forgot there are 4 parts of Israel, not 3. Priest, Levite, Israel, and the congregation of Jacob is all of them. The Gerim are the 4th vav to the shin on tefillin. So if you miss that node at the end of Bamidbar, you didn't understand Devarim. When it says choose life, you didn't. When it says there's a blessing and a curse before you, you got lost. The parsha actually ends with Yericho. If I remember correctly, that's where Joshua enters the land. Rearrange those letters and it spells my spirit, Ruchi. I just remembered the thing I was looking for at the beginning of class. It just chimed in. Mazal tov. My spirit, as in, on the first day of creation, the Spirit of God hovered on the water. That's what this is about. It's about the water giving the Spirit on into the world of Bria, the world of Atzilus. The Ger and the Jew coming together. My Spirit, Ruchi, placed upon both. And this is what the Torah really is about. It's about two nations. There's a Ger and there's a Jew. One is, let's say, the pshat, the simple meaning of the verses. One is lefi pshuto. He's there in the non-verse. Negative and positive. And negative doesn't mean, party pooper, down, or negative. No. It's the one that's really there. The white parchment on the paper. When somebody speaks in a lecture, do they have to say me, 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 me the whole time? We know it's you. So the Torah is going on and on and on and on and on about Israel, but who's the me, 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 me? The Ger. And the Torah is telling you one big guidebook of language of Gerim, about Gerim, from Gerim to Gerim. It's about finding the Ger. Righteousness you should chase after. Ethics of the Fathers is a very easy book to do. Well, give honor to your teacher. Well, I love my rabbi. That's easy. Be nice to your fellow man. I love the guys in yeshiva. Be humble. I'm humble. We all are humble. Yeshiva is easy. Yiddishkeit is easy. Take ethics of the Fathers. Take the Torah into the real world. Learn something from every teacher. Oh, you mean the Ger? Be humble. Oh, you mean amongst the Ger? Different world. Completely different world. And that's what the Torah demands. And the Gerim are not exempt. They're also, go out and find other Gerim. See how fun that is. There's something called Chinese Gerim, black Gerim, white Gerim. Racism and bigotry is all over the world. Religions. Finding out that the world's filled with one concept, Ger. And you break it down, you realize we're all here together to find the universal Ger. The statute that we don't understand, that which comes before the Torah. I think they say Derech Eretz comes before the Torah. That's a nice way of saying the Ger comes before the Torah. The Torah is Taf Vav Reish Hey. And sandwiched between the first cover and last cover is a Gimel and a Reish. Spells the word Ger, stands for Gimel Rishonim. The three first ones crown wisdom and understanding. God wants, before you take into account the body, look at the head, the intellect. Use it. Relate to it. Find the name. Bereshit is the Gematria 913. Take away the Reish, and it's 713, Tshuva. Repent. Return the Hay. That's the Ger. That Reish in its opposite is a Gimel, again, the Ger fractal. That's like that 101, that's the introduction to the book. It's the title and cover of the book. Finding the Ger. Recognizing the Ger. Everything is a Ger. Everything is not you. Once it's not you, then it's something else. If it's not you, it's not revealed. If it's not revealed, it's not known to you. It's a Ger until it's revealed. Once you embrace, then you're in a constant state of revelation. By nature, that is love. By nature. If the wells are flowing between any two things, there's a love between them. The first commandment of the Torah, fruitful and multiply. What a dangerous action indeed. What a dangerous action. You're bringing another person into the world. Maybe they'll die. Maybe they'll get killed. Maybe they'll be deformed. All kinds of bad stuff can go on. When a ger brings a Jew into the world, a Jew brings a ger, it's the same thing. Very dangerous. The Jews are commanded in fruitful multiply written. The ger is commanded as such through oral. And this is the line that you do or don't cross. What are the laws of marriage? What are the laws of relationship? Can we be together? Can we talk? Can we love? Can we associate? Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is bringing into focus this law. There is a ger nation, there is a Jewish nation. And in our Parsha, it says, bring the captive women who have not known a man, and bring them into the Jewish camp. And since Pinchas is there, even a priest may take a non-Jewish woman. And this is when everyone's hair stands up on the back of their neck, and they say, what is this guy going on about? That is like capital no with a capital N. Yet we find out it's actually been done in history. Joshua and Rachav, a bit of the Hanukkah miracle, Ruth and Boaz, even Pinchas himself. We're told, don't do it. And those that have tried to do it when they shouldn't, they got burned. Remember our friends Zimri and Cosby, killed by the spear. Remember our friends Solomon, son of David. The Torah calls him an idolater over it. You forgot the word tzedek from ger. And it's a big one. We're all gerim. The question is, are you a ger tzedek? And Mr. Jew, are you a ger tzedek as well? Ger tzedek to perform it, ger tzedek willing to engage it. And there are two kinds of people in this world. Male and female. This is the basic premise, judgment and kindness. Chesed and Gevura, or chesed and din. The goal in mind is to put them together and make mercy. Mercy is the opposite of chamor, donkey. Donkey is what you call your animal soul. And we all have one. It's called the evil inclination. And it actually, King David says, acts like a donkey. When you upset somebody, they might bray and they'll yell and they'll say, get off my back. That's the animal soul. All mazel is either puppeteering your animal side or your godly side, and the Torah says how to be godly, made in the image of God. And everyone is an animal basically until they find their completion in life. Some are better animals than others. It's called marriage union, male and female. She is judgment, she needs kindness. That's how she was built. He is kind, he needs a little bit more oomph to get him going. A proper male-female, kind, judgment union will produce mercy, which will allow the couple to see God's hand in the world, see the truth in the world, be merciful. And this is where it gets very hard. Well, who's my kindness or who's my judgment? We have to find which one is for us. It says in the Talmud, a woman will make a covenant only with the man who renders her into a suitable vessel to hold light. It's assumed that he should have light. Now, one pitfall everybody wants to go down is say, well, hey, I'm a ger. I'm open-minded. I'm going to go out and marry someone exactly different than me and show you how open-minded I am. And yeah, sometimes that'll work. And then you can be even really liberal. and say, well, I'm a Jew, but I don't practice as a Jew. In fact, I'm going to take a ger woman to be my wife. And a woman says, I'm a ger, I can handle a Jewish man. Yeah, bravo, you're very open-minded. Very open-minded. So much that your animal soul will love it. Because it becomes taboo. Sometimes the like-mindedness has to go. Just because you want to clone a grizzly bear and a polar bear doesn't mean it works. You can't just say, well, we're both bears. You find that in the wild, the animal kingdom, which we're supposed to learn from, especially when taming the animal soul, they go with their kind. In fact, I think it's called Parashas Noah 101. He put animals side by their type. You don't find iguanas mating with camels. It doesn't happen. Everyone knows where they go. It's for the betterment of society, our families, our souls. Thus, the ger woman requires a ger man, Jewish man, Jewish wife. From that, you cultivate a healthy existence so that they can begin to recognize each other and work with each other. It's about a working relationship, not just me, her, and forget everybody else. Because it will work. You will find love on both sides, guaranteed. And it will look like real love. It'll look like a healthy relationship. But it might actually be a beautiful animal soul rather than the divine godly soul. And they might look identical. But that is the test of this world, to reject that which is false and to go with and accentuate that which is true. So for every two that there are one, there's always where the two are not one. Yet it's told we're not good to be alone. So what do? And it goes back to man and woman. The woman is judgment. She is ascertaining which man is for me. The man is water to fill the vessel. He is kindness. And it comes down to women are the same, yet women are different. And to bring out the best quality of the woman. That's what this is about. It's about what makes her the best vessel to be filled with my light. The Parsha in the Zohar says a woman is judgment with the wrong kindness from the man will actually be perceived as yet another level of judgment. That's called a dog. The heart is cut lave. It's like a heart. It's not really a heart. It's not a cool lave. It's not the entire heart. It's living in half the heart. And they'll be like dogs. Now, dogs are nice. But you don't want to be a dog. The second temple was a temple, yet it took the shape of a dog in the fire that came down, as opposed to the lion shape of the fire in the first temple that had the divine presence. Enough, i.e., do you want the divine presence with you, or do you want to be devoid of the divine presence? And the book of Devarim says, it's up to you. If you don't want it, don't. But there are curses. And there's a reality. It's up to us to choose what God wants for us. And this is the responsibility of life. I'm a ger, should I convert? I'm a Jew, but am I a Jew really? Do I stay Jewish? How do I know I'm Jewish? I'm a ger. Should I convert? I like where I'm at. They're telling me to convert. They're telling me I don't know what I am. Torah is real. It's responsibility. It's identifying oneself, mastering it, and going to find the vessels that are conducive for it. If I'm of wealth, then I'm not of the Torah as a first priority. It's just the way it is. If I'm conquering my Yetzer, I'm not thinking about how to make millions of dollars. And it's okay. All three we mentioned at the beginning of class are levels of nobility. The question is, which level of nobility do you want? And they're all an option. But once you've chosen, that's what you've chosen. So if you've chosen the conquering of evil, that's what comes your way. And then to connect to it, embrace with it, will make it happen. To go against it will be to be counterproductive against what you stand by. It's called hypocrisy. Yet we don't realize what we do. The Torah is the education how to correct oneself to correct the world. And it comes down, in this case, who was Abraham? The reincarnation of Adam. The Ger man will say he is Adam. Adam says he represents purity. He represents Zeranpin, the masculine trait in Kabbalah. He is the quintessential Ger V'toshav Anochi. The Jewish man should say, this is Abraham. He was a Ger. He kept Shabbos. We learn what a Jew is from him. Also the Ger. But he understood what an Ish is. And I would like to be an Ish. Two types of man. The difference being, what are you? You're either Ish or Adam. You are either male or female. You are either of wisdom or understanding. It's about the soul that God gives us. What is it? Where do I go? I was born a Ger. I am now Jewish. I am Ish. I think I'm Jewish, but yet I am Adam. Am I really Jewish? Really recognizing the truth. Understanding Abraham. Because if it's a Ger woman, she wants the Abraham kindness program for her. The Talmud says a marriage that is not of equal terms is nullified, for he represents a shoe that I cannot walk in. So if you're a king and she is a pauper, and you say, I'm doing a nice deed, make this little pauper woman my pet, whatever it is you do, it's wrong. She's not a queen. She can't walk in it. Everybody would like to be a queen or a king. She cannot. In Kabbalistic terms, you cannot see that which is beyond you. A 35-year-old man such as myself cannot tell you what it is to be a grandfather. I don't know. So it doesn't do anybody a benefit to say, well, let's make you a grandfather today. I'm not a grandfather today. We get what we need. What we need is what we really want. A Mulligan society tells you, come on, you know you want to be a queen. Come on, you know you conquer your Yetzer, you want money. Oh, you have money, so you want Torah. It tells you the wrong thing. When the honest answer is what we need, what we want, what we are. Abraham was unique that he functions a role that we can all identify to. We all understand who Abraham was. We all understand who Sarah was. Our job is to be authentic in that. And there's more than one answer. And live out that equation. Thus you have, there is judgment, there is kindness, there is mercy. If it's wrong, it's not merciful, it's cruel. Some people actually like cruelty. Some people thrive in cruelty. It's called evil. But to negate evil, to negate the animal soul, to thrive in the godly soul, is proper judgment, proper kindness, a proper vessel, proper light, properly shining that light in the world. And if you think you're a Ger and really you need to be a Jew, that also needs to happen. Everybody has an ultimate path that they need to choose out. It's about making the heart whole and full. The name of Elohim is Maleh Kah, filled with God. Don't be like a heart. Don't be a bad copy of something. Pretending, trying, pretending to be what we're not. Derech Eretz says, be what you are. To choose something that accentuates the full range of one's heart. That's why Fruitful and Multiply is such a tremendous opportunity. Lot and the daughters ruined it. In fact, we're told, don't go there, the father and the daughter. Yet in Kabbalah terms, we have to go there to understand wisdom in Malchus Revelation. So the way the world works is you have to face your demons. That which is repulsive, you have to look it in the eye. Not from a level of covet, from reality. Reality is looking in the eye and saying, I accept reality. The law in the Zohar and in the Parsha is the world is built with kindness. And if it's not kind to her, then you're not being kind. Let's say you are meant to go one way or the other. Yet this woman, she's only meant to have one. Either a ger or a Jew. The kindness answer is, give her what will redeem her. When Adam wanted to take Cain's sister, he relented as if to say, there's somebody else, I can't take her. And that's where that mitzvah is drawn from. It's drawn from those premises that if it is not kind, it is cruel. And Adam is putting himself on the limb as to say, I am putting myself out there for a teaching that's very dodgy. But if you view it in the reality terms, you understand that is a kindness. Now he is free to go with Eve. The tree of knowledge of good and bad must be the tree of knowledge of good. And for every kindness that builds the world, to the point where bad kindness is also the same word in Hebrew, chesed. There's a bad chesed and good chesed. How much responsibility falls on us is immense. And sometimes Hashem says, I don't play by the rules of man. Call it the Joshua Rechav program. Joshua goes up on the spiritual level of Elijah. He does not merit to have sons. He created a Ger Tzedek family when they spied. Now she says, I want to be a Ger Tzedek. Being Jewish is not for me. Now what Joshua realizes is, it is the kindness of God that I marry her. And he does. And out of Rechav comes the most distinguished prophets and priests of all time. Namely Pinchas, who just killed Shimon's tribe, Zimri and Cosby, over illicit Ger Jewish relations, has just endorsed his companion Joshua with a Ger woman, who's a Ger Tzedek, and Pinchas marries their daughter, to the point the son's name is Av Yeshua. The father comes from Joshua. Because Pinchas now inherits Mashiach ben Yosef that Joshua had forsaken from his lineage to Joseph. And Pinchas' lineage to Joseph is invoked from his love from Jethro that he shares with Joseph. Hashem actually crossed that line. And we say, God can do what he wants, I shall be that I shall be. That kindness, there's two types of kindness. Kindness that yields itself to wisdom, let's call that Judaism, and kindness that goes straight to the top of Keter, Chesed, kindness, Elyon, the supernal kindness. That's where God says, I shall be that I shall be. So there are many types of kindness and levels of greatness of kindness. Where is yours? Do you want wisdom? Do you want supernal kindness? The one answer is don't be in kindness of Klippa. That's where Yishmael found himself. Then you find that Hashem crossed the line again. And that's the Boaz and Ruth story. Now, Boaz and Ruth play by the rules. Ruth is a Moabite, illegal to come into the camp. Machlin says, you know how you beat Amalek? You bring him to Noahide. That's how you kill Amalek. Why? Holiness finds purity. Ruth is pure. They got together through the Noahide way. Now, Machlin and Killian died over it. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. But it took a major whop to the head of Amalek. And Machlin is such a righteous guy and walked such a fine line. He actually influences Ruth that she begins to become Ruth. From the language of saturation of God with praises, i.e., she's impregnated with the David program. She was illegal. She becomes kind of legal. Then she becomes inclined that she says the Torah can change reality. You can change your nature. It's the very premise of becoming a ger. Whether it be a ger of the gate, a ger gomor, where do we go from the impure world to pure world, where the Jew goes from his world of holiness to purity and impurity? We have the ability to affect reality. How do we want to manage our pure and impure selves? How do we want to manage our holy and unholy selves? Technically, anybody can become a priest in the Jewish camp the way Pinchas did through the order of Shem. Holiness changes. You can guard yourself on a higher level of holiness if you want to be a Nazir. You're told not to do it. Yet we have the liberty to affect our soul through Torah knowledge. Machlin chose to affect Ruth. Ruth realized she was affected, and she went with it. She says, your people are my people, your God is my God. And Boaz is getting wind of Ruth, and he realizes he's the guy to redeem the child of Machlin that will become Oved, which will lead to Jesse, which will lead to David. And Boaz says to her, you know that you're an Ashes Chayil, don't you? Meaning you know you're Jewish, don't you? Now what gave it away? She does the left-right marriage, which is a mitzvah through the accentuation of the Yetzer Hara. The Jewish soul is defined as such, whereas the Ger soul is defined by its angelic quality and righteousness. When she does that, Boaz realizes she is Jewish. But if you negate the very process and say, no, she didn't go to the mikveh and stand before the rabbis and go to the yeshiva, if you're going to think that, you don't get it. If you say the marriage never could have happened as a Ger Jew, you didn't get it, it's wrong. But once he realizes this is possible, and it's so possible, God is actually doing this. And it's not about the action itself, it's about what happens in that action. She found her Jewish soul. She wanted it. She was introduced to it. She wanted it. She went after it. It was acknowledged and confirmed for her. She had a child who had a child. David came about, and there was not human intervention. It was called God intervention, divine intervention. You can change your DNA spiritually, for better or for worse. That's the gift and responsibility given through Torah, through the commandment, fruitful and multiply. And Ruth now was the chosen one of God, that the royalty of God's kingdom comes through perfection of Ger Jewish relationships. No man can do this. Solomon tried, failed. Shimon tried on the other end, failed. God makes it but through the powers of Mazal. Some are chosen by God to be the Hashgacha Pratis of God. Ruth recognizes. She said, okay, I'm the Ruth program. Boaz said, okay, I'm the Boaz program. And that made the David program. They allowed God to work with their vessel. Her judgment called for Boaz's kindness. And he was kind. And she was judgment. And there is a caution between two people. You are going to love each other. You must remember and guard what you are. Kind of like on Shabbat. It's Shamor v'Zachor. And on Shabbos, the Jew learns about the Ger learns about the Jew. I call it Torah and prophets. called righteous men in history. The Jew learns, will find out they were Gerim. And the Ger on Shabbos learns the Nevi'im, he finds out this is what Jews are. And they need that sacred knowledge of Shabbat to come together in the work week and find out who's who and what's what. Allow the generic to be called by name. But you're going to be in love, and you must know how to govern the love. So there were times in history where the love was great, and they intermarried. Then they went their different ways in religion and hated each other. They got divorced, they got married, they got divorced, they got married. The book of Devarim gives you curses and blessings. It says, choose life. The book of Bamidbar ends where Devarim is all about. Choose life, don't choose death. Choose the blessing, don't choose the curse. To choose life, choose it from happiness. And don't view it as a tircha, as a problem you have to deal with. The ger is just a problem. You missed it. If the ger is a problem to you, then you don't have joy, you didn't choose life, you didn't choose the blessing. Fruitful and multiply is a tremendous responsibility. I don't know you, you don't know me, and we're making a vow, a relationship. People have fear of the Jewish ger relationship. Maybe they're going to bring you to the other side. But then we realize these are people, and they're generic. And if you start there, the ger and the Jew have something in common, something to love. Until the concept is brought out, you can know them by name. That's how all fruitful multiply starts. That's the courtship. And there's a natural love between the two. Just like male-female, just like Chesed and Gevurah, just like the written Torah, the oral Torah, so too the Jew and the ger. Every Gevurah has Chesed in it, every Chesed has Gevurah in it. Every Jew is a ger, every ger is a Jew. Hence Para Aduma, hence the cover and title of the Torah. Para Aduma means the fruit of the earth. Let's call that seed. You were given seed. It's the greatest evil to spill it or waste it. It's the greatest mitzvah to harness it and create with it. And the Torah of Jacob is revealed. It's called the tree of life. Life must contain the ger and the Jew. The greatest gift that God has ever given life is the ability to eat from the tree of life and live. And out of that comes the revelation of Shabbat, of tree of knowledge of good. And the evil was simply a means to come to understand how great God really is on the level of very good. And with that, we look for the universal Shabbat, when we can begin to drink the secrets of the fine wine of the Torah and eat of God's fruit that is very good. That will be joined in conjunction with the Jew, the ger, in all of time, from Olam Hazeh to Olam Haba, through the Mashiach that was a product of both. Thank you very much. Have a great Shabbos. See everyone next week.